I greet you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. Event is coming soon. YouTube channel. Here's the latest intel.
Only 300,000 are ready for Ascension. Goode mentioned in our talk that the number he was given by Rotier was 300,000, which calculated out to 1 out of 2,300 people. Note, I know that this number is slightly off and the maths appear to be wrong, but I wanted to include the figure as it was provided to me. Many of us in the awakening community would like to believe we are ready to ascend, for we are generally positive and happy people. Yet are we also honoring our past and present contributions to this world? If we placed all our deeds on the table, making one pile for actions that really did service others and ones that were harmful to others while servicing ourselves, I think most of us would be surprised by the size of the service to self pile. The cabal created a situation where good people are forced to do bad things to survive. Nearly everyone in the civilized world has played a part in the harm of others, usually without us being aware of it. But the universe holds us to a high standard, and I suspect that this is one of the reasons why the sphere beings told Goode that only 300,000 people were ready for Ascension, and he wasn't one of them. Ultimately, what seems to determine if we service others depends on our intentions, how we feel in the process, and what is actually received by others. And of course, one good deed does not undo the wrong of others. We can't feed the homeless one day of the week and then turn a blind eye to slavery for the remaining days and still consider ourselves to be truly servicing others. The universe takes into account everything we think, feel and do, not just the things we choose to focus on. This is a sobering realization to make, but given Goode stated in his recent update that only 300,000 people were ready for fourth density positive harvest, it suggests that we all would do well to look in the mirror and ask ourselves what our actions, or lack thereof, are doing to this world. As Goode says, we need to be brave enough to turn the light inward and face our own darkness so that it can be transformed. Following our joy is essentially what Seth is referring to, but I think this also has to be balanced with honest reflection. Making every thought a loving thought is what the Tibetan Rainbow Body Masters have shared, those individuals who have actually made this transition in the past. This suggests that personal change and transformation is arguably the most important thing we can do, which is given expression in life as a dedication to service others in all ways. When others are harmed in our presence or by way of our direct or indirect support, and we failed to take actions to change this, then a causal relationship is established with the harming party, complacency to harm, essentially creating a karmic debt or depolarization of positive progress. I think this is the part that has been largely unacknowledged within awakening circles because it's difficult to accept or even become aware of. It requires one use the laws of causality to analyze their actions as much as possible, looking for traces of accidental harm. Once found, an effort to reconcile any divergence is required to restore the balance, forgiveness of oneself and an offer of healing towards the harmed party as an energetic recompense. Therefore, if we gather together to help each other in an effort to stop supporting the systems of slavery on earth while also taking steps to defend the rights of others, preventing harm in the process, positive polarization in the community of awakening souls would quickly take place. In short, I think many of us are on the cutting edge of becoming harvestable. We just have to follow through with our desires to be STO and ensure everything we do is cast against this noble pursuit. Finally, one quote I thought was particularly relevant to this discussion of being ready for harvest. So the last will be first, and the first will be last. In this context, it means that when we think we've already reached the mountaintop, or that we are ready for ascension, we may become complacent and stagnant. Acting as if we haven't reached the goal yet ensures we'll continue to work hard at polarizing towards STO. Our rationale should be to service others as much as possible, not that we need to work only hard enough to ensure our personal ascension. Goode offered more in the way of secret space program history, expanding on some of the points raised during Dr. Sela's presentation. This was the first time Goode was to take the stage alone, and the crowd cheered him in support. It was nice to see a more personal side of him that we normally don't get exposed to. Much of the information presented was also shared in a talk he and David Wilcock did during the Consciousness Life Expo earlier this year. Here are some highlights. Secret societies were developing anti-gravity technology during the 1800s, and were somewhat successful. Victor Schaberger was studying anti-gravity in nature and was forcibly recruited into the early German SSP. The Vril women, headed by Maria Orsic, were in contact with positive extraterrestrials. They had benevolent intentions and developed spacecraft for the purpose of uplifting humanity. They ran a program that was privately funded and independent of darker programs developed by other German groups. The Americans were in contact with several different non-terrestrial races between the late 1940s and mid-1950s. Military minds at the time referred to some of them as space hippies and refused to accept their messages of peace. The military-industrial complex, after being forced to sign treaties with a Draco-aligned German group, began an expansion of the secret space program. This led to the brain drain of the mid-20th century, wherein men and women of prominence were recruited into secret space programs. In some cases, this recruitment was overt, but in the U.S. it was largely kept secret. Ronald Reagan was briefed about extraterrestrials and SSP activity. Goode was recruited into the SSP during his Christmas break of 1986, severing for just over 20 years. The Global Galactic League of Nations faction of the SSP was a cover to hide the ICC and Solar Warden programs. Those nations who agreed to participate had to maintain utmost secrecy and operate completely out of the solar system. They were told and believed that the program was an effort to maintain the continuity of the human race by way of gathering advanced technology and experience needed to defend against extraterrestrial threats. Most nations agreed to the proposal. They were told no extraterrestrial civilizations exist in modern times, only ancient ruins. They were told that any unidentified spacecraft encountered were actually future humans. The first massive sphere entered the solar system in the 1980s, called the Seeker. This sphere was metallic in appearance. Later more metallic spheres came in, but eventually they phased out of sight and took up positions throughout the solar system. Not all these spheres appeared to be metallic. At this point, the presentation ended and a question and answer portion began. Here are some highlights. Military abductees, MILABs, are trained and placed in SSPs as well as Kubao syndicates. Not all go into space programs. At the first SSP Alliance Council meeting Goode attended in early 2015, an SSP Alliance officer in the audience asked Ra Tir if he was the same Ra from the Law of One. Tir answered, "I am Ra Tir, not I am Ra." The Vril programs broke away from the Nazis and settled in South America. They had interactions with the darker German groups but were not directly associated with their activities. The Vril had more spiritual goals, seeking to share knowledge for the upliftment of humanity. Their work was somewhat corrupted by the darker groups who used it for their own ends. These darker groups developed and used age regression technology on themselves, possibly explaining contactees encountering beautiful women that claimed to be humans from another star system. The Vril traveled outside of the solar system. They were last seen in the 1970s. The Dark Fleet has been known to operate in our local star cluster of 53 stars. During Goode's recent meetings with the Blue Avians, he encountered a human-like individual named Micah, an ambassador of a planet that was liberated 2 generations ago. They live for 300 cycles in their system, which Goode is unable to say how that converts to Earth years. Micah said, "We are close cousins of humanity, here to help us if we accept their offer." The Draco has been forced back several times in the past but always managed to encroach back in later. There are 2 star systems they have strongholds in, ours is one of them. There is a race of negative Nordics who work alongside the Draco. They have 6 fingers. Galactic slave trade and human trafficking. Most of the advanced tech produced in the SSPs came directly from slave labor. Many of the over 900 civilizations actively trading with the ICC are amoral and don't care how the technology is produced. However, The ICC does not reveal the slave trade as a normal part of business dealings, suggesting that some of these recipients are unaware of how it was produced. The Draco reptilians are eating some of the people lost to human trafficking. Human trafficking sometimes occurs via large containers filled with people in stasis. Men, women, and children are traded and used for all kinds of purposes. Part of the treaties between humanity and various ET groups was to use age regression and memory wiping technology, possibly to maintain the integrity of their extraterrestrial programs and experiments. Large numbers of people on Earth at this time are from the Blue Avian Soul group, referred to as Wanderers or Starseeds. Goode is one of them, along with his family. This suggests that those who are waking up are here to do more than try to personally ascend, meaning the awakening community has to take greater actions than they are now, especially since Goode wasn't identified as being harvestable. Goode's memory recall began when he went to the doctor for a detached retina injury. The doctor was questioning him about his involvement in SSP because only people who went to space have these problems. The doctor seemed to know of these secret projects and was attempting to get intel from Corey. This triggered some of his memory recall. Entity attachments are used in mind control programming to keep people quiet and compliant. Most of them come from the outer realms, according to the Blue Avians. Everyone on Earth is under some degree of mind control programming, including many of the people who consider themselves highly evolved or spiritual. This suggests that the very idea we are not being mind-controlled or that we are ready to ascend may be a false belief used to manipulate the awakening community into greater states of complacency, inaction, and participation in the slavery system. Excerpts taken from Mount Shasta SSB Conference 2016.
Thanks for visiting our YouTube channel. Please enter our Subscriber Appreciation $100 monthly giveaway. This is our way of saying thank you for supporting us. The link to our giveaway is below in the description. We're adding new videos daily. Be sure to check out our library for additional intel. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Also, visit our sister channel, FYI, for your information. Victory of the Light. Event is coming soon. YouTube channel.